No, that is not Aaron Rodgers kissing at you. Some people would not want Aaron Rodgers kissing at you. How can you tell?
His hair is washed.
I was going to say, just look where his third eye is. You can tell Keanu is a good soul. Aaron Rodgers, maybe not. He's the devil, Caesar. Anyway, I'm getting way off track. This is what happens when I just get my coffee. All right, let's do this thing. 3, 2, and 1. New England, Atlanta could be more interesting. It's interesting on the Patriots side, though, Bloom. Damian Harris back from his concussion, practicing on Wednesday, or expected to practice. We're recording on Wednesday morning here in part 1 of the Week 11 preview here on the Audible. But the New England side is interesting because that's what the players are. And you're thinking, okay, can I get Kendrick Bourne as a what-the-heck flex? Can Jacoby Myers score another touchdown? Hunter Henry's going to, right? And then to the backfield where you go, well, is it Harris now that he's back, or is Ramondre Stevenson broke the code? Will Brandon Bolden frustrate us all? Like, okay, New England, it's Atlanta. You should be able to do a lot.
Yeah, that's the thing you expect, a lot of success. And see, because I live in New Orleans, I'm contractually obligated by law to say 28-3. And on a radio spot this morning, one of the hosts said, well, if the Patriots go up 27-3 in this game, like, will they go for 2? Obviously, history looms over this game, especially the direction these two teams are heading, right? The Falcons coming in the low point of their season, and the Patriots coming in at the high point of their season. So very similar scores last week in these games. I think it was, 43-3 and 45-7. You know, these are college scores. This is like, I wish we could make up, what is it, like Colorado Barber College or something. Like, we need to make up a school. So I don't want to say like Georgia Southern or Florida International or Towson State or whatever, because these are good, hardworking football programs.
I usually say like Akron School of Welding.
There you go, MIG, TIG. Yeah. Well, that's from No Country for Old Men, of course.
Oh.
Anyway, any kind of, I said I can do any kind of welding. Anyway, Atlanta's defense is bad, so I think you start both Stevenson and Harris. I think they can both get touchdowns in this one. I think maybe Jacoby Myers could get his second touchdown in a row, or even a Hail Mary to Nelson Aguilar or Kendrick Bourne, because Mac Jones is playing well. The play calls are great. The play designs are great. And then there's old Hunter Henry. And whether or not Johnny Smith plays Henry as a tight end 1, he's the new Bubba Franks, Cecil, with 7 touchdowns in the last 7 games, not doing much otherwise. You're never thinking of Hunter Henry as a guy that's going to threaten downfield, but he knows how to get open in the end zone for Mac Jones. So, yeah, you would expect that this is kind of a tune-up game for New England as they've won 4 straight and say, hey, we belong in the playoff picture, maybe even in the Super Bowl picture with a rookie quarterback. You never know.
You never know. Bill Belichick, Coach of the Year?
Right? Last laugh after the whole offseason was about, it was really Brady.
I can't remember who said it, but somebody, maybe it was Rex Ryan or somebody, like, he's doing the best coaching job he's ever done.
I would agree with that. Matt Judon, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, I'm just saying there's been a turnaround for this team, and we all get to watch it on Thursday night.
We get to watch it on Thursday night, but do we get to watch Cordero Patterson? That's the main thing. Like, there's still buzz that he could play. I don't think he was going to play, Bloom.
Right.
But that was on Monday. And then on a Tuesday, things were different. And it was like, well, maybe he is going to play. I don't know. It's not like I picked up Wayne Gallman or Mike Davis myself.
Right.
But yeah, my teams that had Cordero Patterson, that I was so happy to have Cordero Patterson, I'm a little bit upset that we don't get to see him in the primetime game on Thursday night.
Yeah, and if he is active, you might be tempted to play him. I guess the New England defense is really what we want to have in our fantasy lineup when Atlanta has the ball. And what do we know about Bill Belichick? He's going to take away what you like to do best. Last week it was running the ball, right? Load up the box and make Baker Mayfield throw it. So you have to think some of that's going to be Kyle Pitts bracketing him, just taking him away. And then, can Matt Ryan counterpunch? This team is coming in. So, see, Freudian, deflated. But really, this team is coming in with, Russell Gage, what the heck, flex or something like that. No, I don't think so. I think this just looks like another miserable game. The one good news here, if Patterson plays, is that splits Belichick's attention of which element to try to take away. But you can't be sure Patterson's healthy. I think you can't play, like you said, Gallman or Davis. Gallman might have really just got to work in the second half because they knew they were going to play on Thursday. So maybe it's a Mike Davis game, but I don't know. The other thing is, it's really odd that Falcons are 4-5. 4-5 is still alive in a 17-game season.
Right.
but they feel dead in the water, right? And this could be kind of dunking them under the water, 4-6, and that's probably it.
What's the crack in the code on Matt Ryan? Like, that's the thing, because you mentioned it could be a Mike Davis game. I'm like, yeah, but that's if they're in it. But then I think, well, New England's not really going to run away. New England will just like keep that pressure on where they're up by 7, up to 10. Maybe now it's back to 7. Like, I don't think New England's going to run away with this like 35-3 or 28-3. But I don't know. Cracking the code with Matt Ryan. You know what I do, Bloom?
What's that?
We're talking about dealing with problems. I just avoid it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not.
No.
Yeah. That's what I do. Oh, I got some stories there. Anyway, how about stories about Indianapolis and Buffalo, huh? Oh, boy. How is Buffalo going to stop Jonathan Taylor? Can anyone stop Jonathan Taylor? He's a special back. Like, people may say, he's the big back and he's swift. Like, no. He's special. He's got special moves, nuances in terms of setting up his rushing lane, setting up his blockers, the patience that you need. I mean, he's so much fun to watch play football. And then you got to watch Carson Wentz hand him the ball. So there's difficulties there, Bloom. But when I think about Jonathan Taylor, I feel happy. When I think about the rest of the Colts, maybe,
right.
Michael Pittman. Maybe he's a little happy. But again, I'm trying to stay away from the Carson Wentz conversation. But it's up against Buffalo, and it's in Buffalo. So expect a healthy dose of Taylor, enough for Pittman for you to start him.
And we just saw this game last year in the playoffs, right? Buffalo maybe took the foot off the gas a little early. Phillip Rivers made it very nerve-wracking for Buffalo, and the Bills pulled it out, but it wasn't exactly a game where they just rolled over the Colts. And now you have not just Jonathan Taylor playing well, but I'm glad you pointed out the vision and setting up the runs, because when you look at some of these big runs that Taylor's breaking off, what's the stat? Yards before contact. We talk a lot about yards after contact. Yards before contact is a measure of the blocking, is a measure of the play calls and things like that. And you're seeing both. Taylor, the reason that he may end up being the most valuable player in fantasy football, other than Cooper Kupp, I don't know, it's hard to say. It is because the alignment, and this is one of the things Matt Walden pointed out when the Colts took Taylor, that the alignment between his running style and the running game they have there is ideal, and now you're really starting to see it come to fruition. So that changes this game, because last year in the playoffs it was a Phillip Rivers offense. This is a Carson Wentz offense, but last week it was a Jonathan Taylor offense, and I think that's the best angle for them with Carson Wentz. And with Wentz, you have this whole mental thing. So the Colts are 5-5, but we know that they can play straight up with anybody. They've already shown us that.
Yeah.
So this is another team that you get into the tournament. This applies to like 17 teams, right? If they get in the tournament, they can make some noise. But what's the blueprint? And then how confident are they in Carson Wentz? Because remember, at least one game this year, they've been right there at the cusp, and Wentz gets hurt. And then another game, they get right there at the cusp. That was against the Rams. Right there at the cusp, and then he throws a couple of picks. I think that was the Titans. So can Wentz get over himself? Can the Colts get over this feeling that Wentz maybe is going to lose the game for them? Like you said, Pittman, he's basically an every week play at this point, and maybe we'll see a good matchup there with him and Tre'Davious White. But I wouldn't be surprised if Taylor gets 25, 27 carries in this game. And really, this is a game where, at this point, isn't it time for them to flip the switch? Jonathan Taylor turns into Derrick Henry. It's that time of year, and that's where this team can really get some mileage. Maybe, and this is a game, so they can go into Buffalo and win. Then they should really feel like we're not just a playoff team; we're a Super Bowl contender. On the flip side, Buffalo needs to take care of business. Okay, it's not the Jets this week. Let's see what you got.
Yeah, it's almost like Indianapolis should steal the identity, because they can. Yeah. And you mentioned the teams that get to the playoffs and like they could do some damage. They have to have a special player, and I'm fanboying for Jonathan Taylor, but I mean,
exercising the demons of all of those Wisconsin backs, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Melvin Gordon's like, I didn't know we could do that.
Yeah,
hey, you can hang on to the ball. All right. Buffalo side of things, now with more Matt Breida, and I think Breida just makes it even more complicated. Like, I like Devin Singletary. I'll go to my grave saying that. I like Devin Singletary. They don't. Because here comes Zach Moss. Okay, well, now Matt Breida, and they should be using all three. Right. They should, right? Now, any one of them, including Breida, could handle a larger workload, but they're not going to do that. Breida will get the smallest portion, but it's enough to cut into the other two, probably mostly Singletary, Bloom. Tell me if you agree with that. Then we look at the other situations. You talked about Cole Beasley in the waiver wire show, right? And could we see more Gabriel Davis? Sure, as a what the heck flex. I'll throw in Gabriel Davis every week. Love his skill set. Yeah. Obviously, you know who else you're starting on this team. So Buffalo's interesting. They're interesting in the backfield now. And, well, they're interesting because Dawson Knox is back. Hopefully he gets more than one catch in week 11.
Yeah, last year, so this was in the playoffs, Zach Moss and Devin Singletary combined for 10 carries, right? Is that going to work?
Well, have they changed enough now? Did they be like, hey, maybe we should run more? Right. Unleash Josh in the playoffs, man.
Right. Run to set up the pass, right? And Gabriel Davis had 4 for 85 in that game. Stephon Diggs had 6 for 128 and a touchdown. Cole Beasley had 7 for 57. And that's one of the things that is probably not going to be that present, right? Beasley's banged up, and I get it. You're going for the number 1 seed. You don't really want to give away any games, but I do think that NFL teams, the smart NFL teams, are looking at this more like NBA teams, load management, give players a chance to be healthy or as healthy as they can be when you have designs on going to the playoffs, winning the Super Bowl. So we may see a little bit less Cole Beasley, and maybe that could be more Gabriel Davis, more Dawson Knox, more Emmanuel Sanders. But then you also have this 3-headed backfield and Matt Breida and that Breida burst. So you would think they found something that worked last week and they're going to stick with that and they're going to mix all 3 backs in, which is really frustrating for fantasy football. But remember, while that was happening last week and each running back scored a touchdown, Josh Allen still had a banner game. Stephon Diggs still had a banner game. So it's there. Gabriel Davis had over 100 yards. So it's there for this whole offense. And the Colts defense is one of those defenses that's good against bad quarterbacks and not so good against good quarterbacks. And at least coming into this game, it feels like Josh Allen is a good quarterback, a lot more play action, as John Daigle told us on the couch this week. You did see a change from Brian Daigle. You did see Brian Daigle say, okay, that Jaguars game stung. We need to do something different. And It worked. Josh Allen is a great play action quarterback. So this is a fascinating matchup, a good matchup. See a game that could actually have, maybe can we get 2 good teams playing like good teams in the same game this year? Once?
Right. Can we have that? And looking over the schedule, Bloom, I was looking at these stinkers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, huh.
That's the marquee game.
Yeah. We don't have a lot to talk about. What is it about alliteration with our reptilian brains? Because you mentioned Breida burst, and I'm waking up. I feel so sorry for you, Sigmund, because you're like, you have to deal with like 2 people, the before coffee me and the after coffee me. But like I was like, Breida burst. That's all. I mean, what is it about alliteration? Our brains just love that. Peter Parker,
symmetry,
Miles Morales,
and
Marcus
3s
Martinez.
too.
If you know,
we love 3s.
Oh yeah, for sure. All right. We're in a mood. We're in a mood to talk about Baltimore, Chicago. Okay, well, here we go. What was the chat room talking about? Lamar having some Chipotle issues? Unpaid non-endorsement, I guess? I don't know. Sent home for illness, non-coof related. Okay. Is that what's going on? I'm looking it up, but let's talk about the Baltimore side of things. Now, minus Le'Veon Bell, that's fine. Maybe it means Latavius Murray will be back, but can you really trust that backfield? And last Thursday, you were so disappointed because you were thinking, hey, it's Baltimore, right? And Rashad Bateman came through for you enough. Marquise Brown with the 6 for 37. That's kind of an anti-Marquise Brown stat line. You know what I mean? Like with him, it should be 1 for 37, not 6 for 37. So with Baltimore, it's how do you bounce back? What's the latest on Jackson? If there are any tummy issues, got the bubble guts today, Bloom, or the itis, right? He's feeling it. Either way, is he going to be feeling it on Sunday against the Bears?
And let's remember, as he's going into this game, yes, the Ravens are 6-3, right? They could very easily be 2-7. You flip 4 plays from those games that they won against Kansas City, against Indianapolis, against Detroit, against Minnesota. And this team is a 2-7 team right? One of the themes on the couch this week with John Daigle was it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter.
Peter King said it, and sorry to interrupt, but on Monday morning totally not morning quarterback, whatever it's called now.
Right.
Good morning football in America on Thursday on Pro Football Talk. Who hates Aaron Rodgers? Gil Brandt getting blocked by PFT.
What?
People sent me notes on that. Yeah, because Gil said, hey, you guys have tweeted like 27 times about Rodgers being the devil. Never once have you said, like, is his health going to be okay? Which is what I said about Pat Shurmur. I said it on last week's show on this show. Like, oh, okay, we can get into, controversy or virtue signaling on either side or whatever we want to do. Or we could be like, are these people going to be okay? Mm-hmm. And so just because Gil Brandt said that, Pro Football Talk blocked him. So I was, buddy who texted me that, I was like, good job, Gil.
Yeah.
Good job. Remember your humanity.
Who isn't friends with Gil Brandt? Oh, yeah. I guess that kind of makes sense.
Florio. Yeah. Now we're blocked. Anyway, I'm sorry. I can't even remember. I'm sorry for interrupting.
Yeah. No. So what you're going to see here, assuming that illness doesn't keep Lamar Jackson out, is a lot of blitzes, a lot of cover 1 and cover 0 blitzes. Why not? Well, is Sean Desai keen enough to just do that and just say, well, that's what worked. Greg Roman had no counterpunch. John Harbaugh obviously frustrated. So let's see if they can solve it. Why would you not do that? I want to mention, by the way, because we haven't mentioned Sean Desai, that he's the first NFL coordinator of Indian descent. India, like actual India, not Christopher Columbus, India. So this is an interesting game for him to be showcased, because now you have a recipe, now you have a blueprint for really frustrating Lamar Jackson. The running game isn't anything you're fearing. Even if Latavius Murray's back, that's going to affect whether we play Devontae Freeman. Now, you're still going to play Marquise Brown. You're still going to play Mark Andrews. You're still probably going to play Rashad Bateman. Oh, boy. That Sammy Watkins game, that's something that kind of got overshadowed by how much Lamar Jackson was on the run. I think I said they made Lamar Jackson look like Jermaine Jackson. And Sammy Watkins, I don't know that I've seen a worse game since, who was the Steelers wide receiver that got cut after? Remember the Steelers Dante Moncrief game? That's the last game I can remember that was as bad as Sammy Watkins' game, which means Rashad Bateman fully installed. And I think I've seen the Keenan Allen comp thrown out there. And what I like about that is, much like Keenan Allen, Rashad Bateman doesn't have a tool or a trait that just is unstoppable, right? Mm-hmm. He's not massive. He's not fast or explosive. He's an average athlete, I think, in NFL wide receiver terms, but he just gets open. He just makes plays. That does sound a lot like Keenan Allen. They're going to need these guys to make plays. And again, you could have looked at Baltimore at different points in the season and said, oh, this team is fine. But you just tweak 4 plays, and they're a 2-7 team, and they're facing a Chicago team that's had 2 weeks to prepare, and maybe will have a new identity.
Maybe we'll have a new identity. You say Keenan Allen, Bloom. I have a different comparison. Cortland Sutton with a good quarterback.
Oh.
It's always a Broncos show. We're not getting to that garbage because they're on bye this week. What am I doing this week? Enjoying good football. Oh, wait, I looked at the schedule. Good football.
Yeah.
Bears side of things. Allen Robinson with that hamstring injury. So Darnell Mooney, a player that we talked about on the waiver wire show. How much can he be involved to be mixed in? We look to the backfield, the talented backfield there, to be sure. And then, of course, Justin Fields and how he tries to get things going against Baltimore. It worked for Miami. But I like Brian Flores, and I think maybe they can get things on the right track. I'm disappointed in Miami's performance this year. I don't like Matt Nagy. I don't think he's a good head coach. I think they need to move on as fast as they possibly can. Well, is Matt Nagy going to have one of those, surreal moments? It's going to be like Will Ferrell debating in Old School, where he's just like, he gets it. Is it going to be like Galifianakis playing was it blackjack, whatever they were playing in The Hangover, in the first one, where Jeff Hazley kept ruining the movie for me because he kept saying, this is the best part, and then this is the best part. Oh, here comes Mike Tyson. Oh, and there's the tiger. Like, I love Jeff, but I tell him all the time, if I ever think of The Hangover, I don't actually think of Vegas or being hungover when Jeff Pasquino saved my life pulling me out of a swimming pool in Vegas. That's when we rented those 2 smaller houses. Anyway, no, I think of Jeff Hazley ruining that movie for me. So thank you, Jeff. And just much love, brother. Anyway, let's talk about the hangover that you get if you start your Bears.
Yeah, and we'll see, because in that game going into the bye, Justin Fields started to show those big-time NFL throws and making plays as a downfield passer, which is his strength as a passer. You have 2 weeks now to make adjustments. It's the only time in the season that teams can really look at themselves in the mirror and try to make adjustments, because otherwise the season moves too fast and you're just trying to survive. It's that Paris to Dakar race, and you're just trying to fix the car and keep it on the road. You're not thinking about ways that you can improve it. And they can do that now. And as we saw on Thursday night, the Ravens are prone to coverage breakdowns. Can you just extend the play, right? Mm-hmm. Greg Roman didn't do this to help Lamar Jackson. Maybe Matt Nagy can do this to help Justin Fields. Move the pocket. Get him rolling out. Extend the play. And then the cracks in the Ravens secondary will show, and that leads to Darnell Mooney. And I'm not saying to play Marquise Goodwin, but Marquise Goodwin's speed come into play here. Allen Robinson, he came out of Week 9 with a hamstring injury. I haven't seen an update yet, but it's Mooney anyway. But one of the things I want to point out is Brandon Parker, Allen Robinson's agent. I don't know if folks caught this. Brandon Parker, when Allen Robinson's agent saw that Odell Beckham got released, he said, "Man, was that easy?" So... I don't think we're going to see Allen Robinson play for the Bears next year. So, we'll see. But again, the Bears aren't dead yet. Also, by the way, Cole Kmet, if you need a desperation tight end off the waiver wire, see if he's out there. David Montgomery's back. He looked really good. He got the highest percentage of snaps of any running back in Week 9 in his first week back from IR, so he's going to be fine. I think that, this could be a game. You look at this game on paper, so you think, oh, the Ravens are a better team than the Bears. Not so fast, especially the way the Ravens played last week and how they were not able to counterpunch. So what's the punch going to be for the Bears?
Yeah, and I'm trying to dress it up, Bloom, but what's the punch going to be with the Lions and the Browns?
Oh, I got it, Cease. I got it.
You got it? Okay,
yes.
Lions and Browns. Let's go. Lions side first, Bloom.
Okay, this is it. So Lions fans and Browns fans, right? You all have had to go through so much, all right? Let's go back to before most of us listening to the show were alive. Do you know, Cease, in a 52 to 57 period, 4 times the NFL championship game was Lions versus Browns. 4 times between 1952 and 1957. It was the matchup.
Yeah.
It was the marquee matchup of the NFL of the 50s. Actually, the Lions won 3 of those. The one that Cleveland won, they won 56-10. It was the third one. And then Detroit came back and won 59-14 the next year just to show them, yeah, we're still your daddy. So that's about all there is, right? You go back in your mind to your glory days, and that's about it.
To the 50s.
Right. You got to go back to the 50s. And your I was going to say Model T Ford, but that's a little bit before that. Your 57 Chevy.
The 30s, yeah. 50. There you go, Bloom. Look at you.
Yeah.
I was thinking, if I'm thinking 50s, I'm thinking like cigarettes rolled up in your arm sleeve, right?
Right.
In your white T-shirt and maybe some
Greasers.
leather jackets. Yeah. Sure.
Pink ladies. And your Edsel. So, Jared Goff's banged up. That's on the other side, right? David Blau, will we see him? I think we are going to see DeAndre Swift get a lot of work. I don't know if Jamar Jefferson's going to play. I don't know if Jamal Williams is going to play. We could see more Godwin Igwebuike, who is related to Donald Igwebuike. I think they said he was his nephew or cousin. So it's always good to bring him back up. And I'm sorry, Lions fans. I'm sorry. There was a picture of the monkey's paw, the famous monkey's paw story, and the Lions fan wishing, please, let's not go 0-17. Please. You got your wish.
You got it. Oh, and then you got the Broncos coming up. You probably beat those guys because they're bums. Anyway, the coaches, not the players. Broncos show, Browns show now. Baker shut it down. Like, Baker's chasing that money. He's chasing the bag, Bloom. It's the root of all evil is not money. Mm-hmm. The root of all evil is the pursuit of money.
Yes, that's right. The love of money.
Yeah. So Baker, it's not working, man. You're not healthy. Go get healthy, and then maybe it'll work. Maybe you don't get as much money. Like, I don't know, but it certainly complicates things for this Browns offense, which should be able to do something, right, against the Lions?
Yeah, should be able to do something. By the way, Brian Martinez in the chat room saying Tim Boyle, remember him? He's taking the first team reps, not David Blau. So maybe that's the answer for your 2 quarterback super flex leagues. I'm not sure. By the way, going back to the Chicago-Baltimore thing real fast, I want to put this out there because Brian Perez, who covers the Bears, good friend of the show, put it out
Great
there.
dude. Great dude.
Yeah, I just wanted to say his name on the show so people would go look up Brian Perez, BRYANPEREZ NFL. He put out a really good thought that if Matt Nagy's not back, he wants Byron Leftwich to be the next head coach of the Bears. Wouldn't you like to see Byron Leftwich and Justin Fields together?
Yeah.
That would be fun. So anyway, again, anything to not talk about this game. Baker, see, the interesting thing about Baker is maybe there's so much going on this offseason with quarterbacks. It's going to be so interesting, right? Rodgers, Wilson, Matt Ryan. But the Baker Mayfield decision might be the most interesting to break down because I think we can watch it like a meter. And as the season's gone on, sometimes, oh, yeah, they're definitely going to sign him. Oh, well, I don't know if they're going to sign him. And now, like you said, it's wavering. It's wavering where I think it's a really credible question to say, how are they going to handle this? Because what is the identity of this team? It's not Baker Mayfield. And Bill Belichick knows this because he hemmed in this offense by putting the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands last week. But Nick Chubb is back this week. And we'll see what Detroit can do on defense to try to slow down that running game. I think Dearness Johnson's a what-the-heck flex here. And otherwise, we're not looking at anybody from this passing game in our fantasy lineups. And the other side of this year, too, is after everything the Browns have been through, man, that game against the Chiefs in week 1 where they were owning them for like 3 quarters, that feels like forever ago. That was a lifetime ago. But they're 5-5. They're still alive. They can play pretty good teams straight up. They have an identity. They have some things on defense that are coming along. So maybe they can take care of business in this one, show that they're a decent team. But that quarterback question is going to continue to hover over this team no matter what happens this year.
Do you feel better about them or the Bengals?
Probably them.
I believe it's them because they've almost beat their past. You know what I mean? Like the Bengals are still like, what are you still doing here?
Yeah.
The Browns are like, no. Like they know how to kind of get past their past. So yeah, I feel better about them. They're still in it. Cleveland, keep your chin up.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, we'll see. But I think that the Browns are making progress. It doesn't always feel like that, but they have an identity, and at least in this game, that should be enough.
That should be enough. Is Houston and Tennessee enough for you? Sometimes you set me up, Bloom, so well. So well. It's just like a lob, right? It's just perfect. Crush it right over the plate. There's my baseball reference. So it's Houston and Tennessee. Okay, Houston side first. Should take you, I don't know, 30 seconds. A
few seconds, right. Yeah. Tyrod Taylor, is he Tyrod or Tyrod this week? The team says they still have confidence in him, but at some point you wonder, well, let's just see what Davis Mills can do. He's obviously not overwhelmed being on an NFL field. Let's continue to develop him. And Brandon Cooks, okay, he belongs in our lineup. It's Tennessee, so it's a good matchup. And that's it. Houston is relegated to playing spoiler here. As Tennessee, this is a durable team. This is a team that knows how to win in a lot of different ways. Now, this is like every AFC South matchup sees. I think this one's like 21-17 all time, Titans, Texans. So we talk about these AFC South matchups. Sees how many times over the years have we had an AFC South matchup where it's a mismatch on paper, but it ends up being a close game anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know if this Texans team is up to that.
Yeah, and isn't that kind of the definition of the AFC South? Like, oh man, they should kill the Jaguars. Oh my God, the Jaguars made it a game.
Right.
But can the Texans do that? Probably not. No. Well, what can the Titans do? And who will they do it with? That's the most important thing, right? So it's like one of those races at the arcade or at the carnival where the horses, the mechanical horses are going across and you just like, I don't even know how you control those things, right? Pushing a button or something like, and you're just waiting which one of those running backs is going to be the guy that emerges. It's a tie, and they're all bad. Okay, well, we know that the Titans offense has some really good players, of course, like A.J. Brown, but let's discuss how those really good players could have a really good week against Houston.
Is this the Dante Foreman breakout week? It might be.
Yeah.
It might be. I mean,
That's the one you get the best feeling about.
Well, because he's got the power, he's got the speed, the burst, and if this team can open up a lead on the Texans, it's going to be Dante Foreman's second half. You would think he's going to be in that Derrick Henry boa constrictor role where eventually he just breaks off a 60-yard touchdown run. So I think this is a great Dante Foreman with heck flex week. A little bit lower for Adrian Peterson, but maybe it's back and forth where they both get 15 carries and they both get to score in this game. A.J. Brown. Look, we're going to see A.J. Brown against good defensive coordinators and good defenses. They're going to take A.J. Brown away. It's just that easy. It really is just that easy to take A.J. Brown away, which, last week opened things up for Marcus Johnson. Marcus Johnson remains a what the heck flex every week because when teams are overplaying the run or overplaying A.J. Brown, then Ryan Tannehill can hit him with the deep ball, get that speed and play. He's the clear number 2 receiver. But this week against the Texans, who traded their best cornerback away to the Saints right before the season, basically buying a third-round pick. I think that this is still going to be an A.J. Brown game. Really, you just want A.J. Brown to get his before the game gets out of hand.
Yes.
And hopefully the Titans are hearing this, and they're not coming in with their gloves down against a team that, just like the Lions, just like the Jags, every now and then has shown up the Jets this year, even though they're going to be picking in the top 5.
Yeah, where's your Super Bowl? And Calbudo, who is one of our favorites in the chat room, and we love you all. Everyone is mediocre. The ugly secret the NFL doesn't want you to know. And back to my original point before I got on the Gil Brandt rant.
Yeah.
Peter King wrote, and it's totally not Monday Morning Quarterback, but yeah, Monday Morning Quarterback. He said it's a week-to-week league.
Yeah, well, can I interject here, Cease?
Of course.
I don't know if it's just that everyone is mediocre. I think that the injury rate is so high, the attrition rate is so high for these rosters, and including players playing hurt. And then you have the element of coaching, and some, like McVay versus Shanahan, right? Some coaches just know how to thwart their opposition and get them out of their comfort zone. And you never know week to week how. I mean, I shouldn't say you never know, because you can look at history. Like the McVay Shanahan one was kind of easy to see coming, but coaches can make this wildly swing because it's just as simple as attacking a weakness or getting a team out of their comfort zone or anticipating what they're going to do so that they don't have a counterpunch whenever you take that away. We can go back to the McVay-Belichick Super Bowl, right? So I just think that it's the role of coaching, which, of course, this is how we end up coining assumption of rational coaching on this show, right? Because we like to project games as if the coaches are going to do the right thing,
as if they would make sense,
right? And sometimes, so see, sometimes they don't do what makes sense, right? Like Greg Roman not adjusting, or Gus Bradley playing cover 3 and leaving Hill and Kelsey in single coverage, and then sometimes what they do makes so much sense that we couldn't see it coming, like Bill Belichick just loading up the box and Kevin Stefanski not doing something that made sense and putting the ball in Baker Mayfield's hands. It can get you a little nauseous. But I just have another beer or something. It'll make it go down.
It'll make it. You'll be fine. In Colorado, it'd be another brownie.
Yeah,
or another edible. But you do you. You do you. We actually, this one should be good. I don't know. Is it going to be good? Like, I almost want to ask permission if it can be good. It's Green Bay and it's Minnesota, and it's in Minnesota. Now you feel like, okay, you're indoors. How much did weather factor into the Rodgers rate of return? And, well, it wasn't as good as you wanted it to be. All right, you're indoors. Don't have to worry about the elements now. A.J. Dillon leading the way. That's exciting for fantasy GMs. But Devontae Adams, Rodgers himself, like, how much of a bounce back do we see? How much of a fight can Minnesota really put up? But, again, division foes know each other so well, Bloom.
Yes.
This is where, when you get into your history – this is where that type of stuff comes into play, because it's like, okay, Green Bay should kick the stuffing. I can't even say shut your mouth or extend it like I would, because I think that's what nabbed us. I think was the Minion Hunter. Did he alert us on Twitter? Yeah. He's like, Cecil, it's when you said shut your mouth, but I stretched it out because it sounded like something else, because I wanted to be cute, because I love cussing, because I'm from the country where it's a second language. Anyway, sorry, YouTube overlords. Green Bay should kick the stuffing. Yeah. Good golly, talk about the 50s. Good golly, Green Bay, they should give them the business.
Yeah.
But it's a divisional game, Bloom. Maybe the business is given the other way.
See, do you ever listen to Dr. Demento?
Of course.
Right. And I'm glad, because I went on
radio. Like, I know radio's like an old thing.
A dead medium. Yeah.
except local sports talk, local. Sports
I know someone who
is,
works in local sports talk. He's still doing pretty well.
I'll do in a pinch, but like, younger fellas won't know like just how important, and we sound like the kids that would sit around and listen for the Ovaltine thing, like in Christmas Story.
Drink your Ovaltine.
Son of a, I can't say that. See, he can say it on Christmas Story. I can't say it on YouTube.
Right.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
it's by content for children.
Drink Your Ovaltine is Christmas Story is a fantastic movie, and that's I think the first moment that is like it's like the moment that like capitalism lets you down. Like really, this whole big thing is just about buy more Ovaltine. It's just about
buy more stuff.
But shaving cream. Remember the song Shaving Cream?
Yes.
Shaving cream. That just makes me think of so you want to be on Dr. Demento, and I'm just glad that we've belabored Dr. Demento for a little bit so that people will go back and look it up. It was so I would get in my sound design little stereo, I'd have my cassette tape set up so I could record it when it was on the radio and I could listen to it all week. Dr. Demento, yeah. Dr. Demento and Mad Magazine. Like if you look in our DNA somewhere, like both of those things are in there. So, Cecil, you set this up perfectly when you talk about the history of the matchup. Because in the last 7 games, this matchup is 3-3-1. In the last 13 games, it's 6-6-1. And in fact, this team has had 2 ties. This matchup has had 2 ties since 2013. That's just you make it another tie here. This is a big matchup for both of these teams. Green Bay's thinking number 1 seed. Minnesota, another one of those teams that you can tweak a couple of plays in either direction, and their record totally changes. And they've played with good teams. I think this is a Dylan smash, right? He's got a lot of gas in the tank, a lot of tread on the tire. Run him 30 times. Yeah. Run him 35 times.
And you're getting Jones back, like in the near enough future that you could have a 3-4 game stretch, whatever it is, where Dylan gets 25 carries.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that this is that game. I think this is just, you can't stop him. I mean, he looks so ready to put the team on his back for a couple of games. And then you run to set up the pass. Maybe you have some Aaron Rodgers deep shots off of play action. Of course, you're going to play Adams. You're not going to play anybody else. But it wouldn't shock me if Valdez-Scantling had a long touchdown or Lazard had a long touchdown in this one. Remember, Donnell Hunter is out for the year. So that's one of your main threats to get after Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers, probably a low ceiling, like not a DFS play. Still could come through just fine for you, even on 20 or 25 attempts in a redraft setup. But again, these teams know each other so well, and hey, the Vikings have some players that can do damage on offense too. So this might be one of those situations, Cease, where whose good players play great? Who makes those individual plays to tilt the scales? Because both of these teams have elements that the other team probably can't stop.
And that's why we love this game. We love it because of the unknown properties, right? This should happen. But what will happen? And Dalvin Cook against the Packers in 2 games last season, 5 touchdowns, 213 yards. Also caught a touchdown pass. So 6 touchdowns in 2 games against Green Bay. There's your history lesson, Bloom.
Yeah.
So let's talk about these guys. And then maybe a new guy in Tyler Conklin coming through for you.
Well, if you need a tight end again, Komet, Conklin, all these hard sounds. He's someone you could look for with the 2 touchdowns last week. But it's Cook. It's Justin Jefferson, who really looks like he's starting to get going. Last week, he was one of those players. There's just no answer for Justin Jefferson. Jair Alexander's out. There's no answer for Justin Jefferson. Of course, there's still Adam Thielen. The other thing that you like here on the Viking side, I don't want to say must win because we're only in week 11 of an 18-week season. We're not there quite yet. It's not the other side of Thanksgiving. But it feels like a must win for me. Or it feels like a game that if you are going to think of yourself as a credible playoff team, because they're far enough behind the Packers in the standings, they're probably not going to catch the Packers. It's not going to be a division title year for them. But again, this is a team that they can get into the playoffs, and you've got Dalvin Cook, and you've got these players in the passing game, and you've got Kirk Cousins who can execute. Maybe you've got something there. They can take care of Green Bay at home. This will do a lot for this team's confidence going forward.
It'll do a lot for the team's confidence, and it would do a lot for us if we could get through Miami and the Jets quickly, our final game that we're going to do here on part 1, and that'll leave us more games for part 2. So stay tuned for that coming up tomorrow. But Miami versus the Jets, it's almost like, okay, and the Jet side is more interesting because of the new quarterback, who's the old quarterback who has a unibrow and was a jerk to us at the Senior Bowl. That is Joe Flacco. But Miami side, it's like, okay, you've had 10 days. You've built momentum.
Yeah.
Maybe from the Ravens win?
Okay, I want to do a little history one because we often go back to the early '80s. Well, for you, it's probably more like the late '70s because you're a little bit older than me. Those first football games that are really etched in your consciousness, right? I mean, for me, it's the Kellen Winslow, the game Miami and San Diego. But another game, when they give a game a name, you know it was a memorable game, right?
Yes.
The Mud Bowl. The Mud Bowl. In 1983, it was actually the 1982 season, the strike-shortened season. It was just truly the Mud Bowl. Every single player's uniform, if you can remember this one, folks, was covered in mud. It was the AFC Championship game, and it was 14-0 Dolphins over the Jets. Yes, the Jets. Boy, AFC Championship game and Jets just brings up bad memories, doesn't it? Sorry, Jets fans. But it was, and the mud was a terrible, terrible thing because the Jets had speed, and well, that renders your speed useless. A.J. Dewey, remember that one, Cease? Mm-hmm. He had 2 interceptions in his career, 3 in that game, including one for a touchdown that really put away the Jets. This series is 55-55-1. That's how even this series has been over the history. And we talk about this because, well, yeah, I mean, Tua Tagovailoa is a good streamer this week against the Jets. Atrocious defense. Myles Gaskin, just because you expect the Dolphins to put up points in this one. Probably a bounce-back game for Mike Gesicki. Maybe a bounce-back game for Jalen Waddle. But you also have Albert Wilson adding something, so complicating things a little bit. Devontae Parker exit, enter Albert Wilson into this passing game. There might be enough for everybody's cup to get full here because I heard that the Jets are going to sacrifice Joe Flacco to the Dolphins this weekend.
Yeah, here you go, Joe Flacco. Does that mean, I think Chris said it earlier in the chat room, Jamison Crowder season?
You're right.
Okay, it means something. I mean, Elijah Moore has been so good. That should continue, right?
Yeah.
Like we're hoping in almost a Dan Arnold type of way. Bloom, you've got the numbers in front of you. Like he's getting 60 yards. Like, okay, Elijah Moore, yes, more, please. Please, sir, can I have some more? But it's Joe Flacco. So who the hell knows who in the world, golly, knows what you're going to get?
Gee whiz. So the first player that popped in my head was Jamison Crowder. I can just see Joe Flacco throwing the ball. And what have we seen when the Jets fall behind? 400-yard passing days. Maybe not a 400-yard passing day. Maybe this is more like Mason Rudolph, 50 passing attempts, but only 242 passing yards. However, a lot of receptions, right? That makes me think Jamison Crowder. Now, you do have Joe Flacco's deep arm. I think he can still throw the ball a long way. I don't know. That could get Corey Davis into play. That could get Elijah Moore into play. But now, for the first time this year, we saw the Dolphins defense resemble that Dolphins defense of 2019 that created the turnover streak and really frustrated poor offensive teams. And, well, when Joe Flacco is your quarterback, you're a poor offensive team. Even Michael Carter, I'm not necessarily feeling as safe in this game. And, yeah, when at least for Detroit and Cleveland, we were able to go back to a time when they won an NFL championship. I guess I should just mention Joe Namath, because for Jets fans, all I could bring up was another moment of misery in the life of a Jets fan.
Another one and another one in the books. That is a wrap for part 1 of the Week 11 preview here on the Audible. He's Sigmund Bloom. You follow him on Twitter at Sigmund Bloom. I'm at Cecil Lammey. The show is at the Audible. Make sure to do all those YouTube things: like, comment, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that you never miss a vid. If YouTube remembers to do what they're supposed to. Sorry, I apologize, but we're here for you. So check us out at footballguys.com. You love the show, want to support the show at any time, go to footballguys.com and subscribe to that free daily newsletter, and then also subscribe to footballguys.com. Annual price, really good price, and we appreciate you. That's how you support us. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you very much for listening. He's Sigmund, I'm Cecil. We are the Audible, everyone. Stay tuned and stay frosty.